Well, hello, gals. I'm recording this so that we can play it to the pastors throughout the 7 different cluster meetings that we have in the what we call the Venture Church Network Midwest. We've changed our name from Conservative Baptist now to Venture Church Network. And I'm so glad that are willing to come and to share with us. I'd like you to introduce yourselves, and you know the questions. I'd like you to tell about when you were saved, your education, your marriage. I assume you did get married, right? And also about your children. So, Kristy, well, let's begin with you.
All right. So my name is Kristy, and I was born and raised in a Christian home, and I was saved at a very young age. I was about 5 years old. Of course, I don't think when you're 5 years old, you really comprehend what all of that entails and what that means. So obviously my journey has been over the last 21 years. So 31, sorry, 31, I can do math. Anyway, so when I was a teenager I was about 14, 15 years old when I really, truly, I think, grasped what that meant. Obviously, that's an evolving thing as you go. But I think that's when I really dedicated my life to this is really what I want. And this is what I want to do with my life. Then my husband and I met when we were 15, 16 years old.
Ooh, high school sweetheart, yes.
Yes, so 2001, he and I started dating, and we're going to have our 16th wedding anniversary actually next week. So we have 3 children, Lana, who is 13, Alexa, who is 11, and Colton, who is 8.
Great. Adrianne, tell us about yourself.
Okay. I actually grew up in central Iowa, and my husband and I lived about a quarter mile apart. So we met when we were 3, but then didn't really hang out much till high school. I got saved around between 4th and 5th grade at church camp, Wesley Woods in Indianola. And of course, you go through the process of sanctification and learning what that means. And then my husband and I met again, kind of between my sophomore and junior year of high school. And we got married in 2012 and have been married about 8.5 years. We have 5 or 6 children, depending on how you count them. Titus is 6, Zoe is 5, Caroline is 3.5, Rebecca is 2. We have 1 on the way and 1 in heaven.
Yeah, 1 in heaven. Thank you so much for sharing your life story in a brief way. Lets us know a little bit about you. What's your involvement in the church, Kristy?
Well, I head up the nursery. I take care of making sure we have workers in the nursery, making sure everything's ready to go for that. This is in a normal world, let's say that. Yeah. Right now, obviously, we don't have that. We also have a ladies' night that I try to head up and help out with every month. So, and then of course, just wherever there's a need. So
you do work outside the home as well, right, Kristy?
Yes. So I am a secretary at the Bloomer High School.
Great. Adrianne.
So since I'm expecting in February, my involvement is a little limited at this point. We actually just started here in August. I help out with the music, the worship, the music selection, kind of getting that figured out, and helping Chuck with youth group as a youth leader.
Very good. Just to bring everybody up to speed, Pastor Chuck, Adrianne's husband, just started this late summer, and it's been a delight to see them ministering with the youth here in the Bloomer area. Overall, has the COVID lockdown, and I think one of the families has actually gone through a cycle of COVID-19 passing through the whole family. Has it been good for your family, and why? Or why not?
Yes and no. Obviously, I think when everything first started and everything shut down, everybody had to take a step back, schedules freed up, you had all this free time. That was good for us. bad for us also because I feel like we are very much the type to go and visit and be out with people, especially our church people. So for us, that was really hard because that's how we connect and that's how we do life with everybody. So that was a big adjustment for us.
Mhm. Adrianne.
End of October, early November, we actually got COVID, we think. Because Chuck was in a wedding in Iowa. And so we brought.
Oh, those people from Iowa. Oh, they're.
Yeah, so anyway.
Sorry for interrupting you.
So anyway, so one of our kids got tested positive, but none of the rest of us tested positive. So that was really frustrating for my husband because he was quarantined at home for 2 weeks. And if you know my husband, he's very extroverted, likes to be around people, likes to go do stuff. And it was driving him nuts. Like he was literally pacing the house and, trying to find stuff to do physically because it was really hard for him. For me, it was really nice because I had help with the kids, friends being sick. So I actually had help during those 2 weeks. I think it kind of goes both ways because we were actually in quarantine or not us in quarantine, but when the shutdown happened, we were in Iowa over the summer. And so that was really difficult, kind of finding out that we needed to make a change, trying to move, get the kids adjusted, but also having them say goodbye when not everyone's out and about. You can't, it wasn't the same because you couldn't reach out to people. I think that was very difficult for us, saying goodbye when people were so isolated.
Sure.
I know for our kids, it's been very difficult because I want to go see my friends. I want to go to school. So I think just the pressure from, everyone wanting it to be normal, but that's just out of our control.
So were the kids and you very sick with the COVID?
I would say, we didn't get like the respiratory so much as just the body aches, being lethargic. We didn't get it as bad as most people. I think it was pretty mild, but it was very painful, physically painful. And very, it took quite a while to kind of sleep it off. But no, we didn't get any bad cases of like the upper respiratory with it.
Good. We're going to get a little bit more personal as we go on now. Let me ask you, Kristy, does your husband share the burdens of decisions and conflicts with boards and members?
With the board members, I think to an extent.
And church members, or does he as a general rule, share the trash?
I think to an extent, yes, with the board, obviously, because there's decisions that have to be made. Obviously, frustrations come up within those decisions that need to be made. So I think they get to see some of that. Do they see all of it? No, I don't think so. Because obviously there's a lot of that falls on his shoulders. You have the board to help, but in all reality, a lot of it falls on him. So he, I don't know that he translates that very well to them necessarily, or all the time. They can't, you can't call them every 5 seconds with, oh, so-and-so said this, and this is what's happening. That's just something that he has to deal with.
Yeah. How about you, Adrianne?
I think on the youth side of things, it's been hard for Chuck with youth leaders. The whole mask debate has been really made some leaders step back and back down because they don't believe in wearing the masks, and even having a family leave the church because of it. And I think to a point he shares with me at our previous church, I think it just got so overwhelming with him. He started sharing everything. And then, then we're both bitter. And I think that isn't always beneficial either. So I think now he's kind of been able to step back and reevaluate, what's important to share. If it affects me specifically and our family, then he'll talk about it. But if it's more just kind of church politics, so to speak, he'll try to kind of keep that between, him and the group of people he's talking to. And, he gets along really well with Patrick. So I think that's been a huge help. they can actually go to Patrick. So our previous pastor was not a trustworthy person to go to with struggles like that. So I think he feels more supported here, so he doesn't feel the need to tell me as much. But at the same time, you can tell when they're carrying a burden. And after a while, I have to call him out on it because it's affecting him so much at home.
And that's kind of, it's a segue into my next question. How do you gals process this? Whether they let you know about all the things that they're frustrated about, or they internalize it and it pops up as being not paying attention to home matters. And so how do you process this time with greater heightened emotions, anger, strong opinions? Just go ahead and answer that question, if you will. I might probe a little bit more.
So for us, I think a lot of it comes down to knowing how he handles things and how he deals with things, how he himself processes things. Learning that has been obviously something that we've done over the years, but it's putting it more into practice now and realizing, he needs to talk through things. He needs to process things. He may need to talk about it 3 or 4 times to me, but just realizing that and giving him that time, because generally after he's talked through it and he's, kind of vented to me about it or whatever, generally, he's been able to process it and he does better with it. I should say not well, but better with it. But I think too, a lot of it is sometimes, I don't always know what's been going on. And generally when he's, really quiet or he's distant or whatever, generally that is when I know that he just needs time on his own to process things well and not to cry and not to, nag about it necessarily. But I think a lot of it just comes down to knowing him and he himself knowing as well. I don't know everything that's going on. So he sometimes has to just, realize, okay, this is what I need to do. And I need to share that with her, tell her, express that so that she is aware of what is going on.
Sure. I'll come back to you in a second, Kristy. How about you, Adrianne?
I think for Chuck, it almost comes out in his behavior before he'll actually talk about it. He's not always the best at saying how he feels. So sometimes I kind of watch him for a while and kind of see, okay, is this just, is he just frustrated with the kids right now? Or is he really just going through something and everything is bothering him? Because something else internally is bothering him. So sometimes I have to take him aside and be like, okay, honey, what's going on? Is it something you want to talk about? Sometimes I have to dig a little bit for him to realize there's something deeper going on. He'll think he's compartmentalizing it, and it really isn't, because it's coming out in all the frustrations coming out in his actions towards us as a family. So sometimes like the other day, he's like, I just need to, have some alone time, which is really rare for him as an extrovert. So when he says that, I know, like, okay, he needs that. He doesn't ask for that very often. So for him, I know, he needs to be active. Sometimes I have to let him, go hang out with the guys or go play basketball or something before he's ready to talk. Sometimes he needs to get that physical aggression out in healthy ways before he's ready to talk about it.
Coming back to you, Kristy, kind of a piggyback. What do you do when you find out a specific person is just on Patrick's case, and Patrick lets you know that he's struggling with a board member, a church member, or just somebody in the community? How do you process not getting angry at the other person?
I don't all the time. Sometimes that's number one. It just happens sometimes. But in all honesty, we have to sit there. We have to take a step back, and obviously, I want to support him, and I want to him to know that I've got his back. So generally and when you're especially a board member or something like that, obviously he's not going to go talking to everybody in the church about it. And so we take the brunt of it, just because we're the only one that can know, so to speak. So, it's not easy all the time. It takes a lot of prayer, a lot of just bouncing ideas off of each other, like even just trying to decide where that other person is coming from, think of it from their perspective as well. While that may be hard to do from time to time, we try to, just give each other those ideas on, where is that person coming from? Why are they saying this? How can we make it different? How can we help them? Or how do we need to change? Maybe the frustration is right and it is something that we need to do. So we try to take a step back. But like I said, it all really comes down to a lot of prayer and
I was going to ask this question, but I maybe better not. Have you ever had any criticism of your kids? What do you do about that?
Other than the fact that the one time when we first moved here, my son gut punched another kid. The week we moved here. No, I honestly, I don't think that I've ever had anybody say anything.
Sure. Adrianne, how do you process when Chuck unloads on you and he feels great? He's let all the emotion out and now you're walking around with this new burden.
I don't always handle it the best, to be honest. Sometimes I have to process, with safe people to just to kind of help me understand, okay, is it a personal attack? Is it just a disagreement of ministry? Is it reconcilable? Is it something we just need to let go? I think just processing, okay, is there anything really we can do about this? Or is this something we're just gonna have to let them blow off steam and hope that they eventually calm down? I think it depends on the person and the level at which they're coming at it. If they're trying to, incite dissension throughout the entire church, then that's a big issue. Then we have to kind of be more confrontational about that. If it's just kind of someone spewing their opinion louder than they should, it kind of depends what they're talking about. But yeah, I have to kind of take a step back too and process, okay, how can I help him make it better and not make it worse?
Yeah, that's a good point. So, so how do you, both of your men are wonderful family guys from my perspective. They seem to have a good relationship with your children and I praise the Lord for that. But on rare occasions, how do you bring your man back to family life when things are not necessarily hunky-dory at the office?
Go ahead, sure.
I got to think about this in a second.
I think we had this talk a couple days ago. My husband will get so focused on the task at hand that he'll almost forget. He'll get so focused on work and kind of trying to please everybody because of past situations that he'll almost get blindsided to, okay, honey, like put that aside, like they need you right now, or I need you right now. I think we just had that talk about, communication. If we're, barely seeing each other in passing, a lot of communication is lost. And for me, if I at least know his intention or am prepared, hey, I'm going to be gone a lot today. Like yesterday, he had a, 6 o'clock meeting, worked all day, and then had youth group. If I know that ahead of time, I can mentally prepare and make a plan of like, okay, this is how I'm going to survive the day with the kids. I think communication is a big one. I honestly kind of watch him to see how he's interacting, but if basically nothing is going right, I kind of have to sit him down and saying, hey, like this isn't okay. The kids have nothing to do with this. Like, what do you need? Do you need to take a break? Do you need to talk about it? Like, what kind of something's got to give here? We can't, I don't know, can't keep feeding off each other's frustration without talking about it.
How about it, Kristy?
I completely agree with Adrianne's comment on the communication. I mean, again, if I'm prepared for him being gone, or I'm prepared for, today it's all me and the kids, then I'm good with that. When he brings it home, when he doesn't stop, I think a big thing again is communication. I need to tell him that. I can't just expect him to read my mind and figure it out on his own. So I think that communication just between him and I on, hey, you know what, you're really distant, Lana's trying to talk to you right now. Can you pay attention to her for a second? I mean, sometimes just saying those things, it just snaps and it's like, oh yeah, wait a minute, let me refocus and let me be here now. But again, it's that communication where maybe he doesn't realize it and he just needs that reminder, not that it's like a nasty reminder, like you're never here, why are you doing, what's going on? But just, hey, we've noticed that you're really distant. We noticed that you're more consumed with, things going on. And obviously there's going to be times when that happens. Yeah. I mean, obviously those busy seasons where we just need to expect that. But just, again, that communication is super important with just communicating that to me, even if it's through, just shoot me a text and tell me, something like that is even super helpful.
Yeah.
One thing I forgot to mention is the cell phone. I don't know how many times I've had to tell Chuck to put it down, or, you don't have to answer that right now, or it's 11 o'clock at night, that can wait till tomorrow. I think sometimes, again, that people pleasing or, wanting to make sure he's keeping up on things, that all that aggravates me so much. Because he'll be supposed to be playing with the kids and all of a sudden he's on his phone. I'm like, are you kidding me? Not again. So I've had to really kind of clamp down on him sometimes. I've had to hide his phone sometimes. But I always give it back.
Oh,
I think that would be
gals, this is really good. Yeah. The last question I have is, I can't have 6 questions. I had to have 7 because that's the perfect number. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I think to just realize that everybody's in the same boat. I don't think obviously our husbands take a lot and they get a lot of criticism. They get a lot of nasty phone calls, no matter what time of day. Everybody wants to give their opinion. Everybody thinks their opinion is right. But I think you need to realize too, or they as leaders also need to realize, is that they're not the only ones in this boat. Obviously we're there with them, but I think everybody across the world right now is in some way in this boat. So I think just to realize that they're not alone and that they're not the only ones dealing with this, and that they're not the only ones with disgruntled parishioners.
Right.
So yeah.
I think earlier your husband Patrick was sharing there's a high percentage of pastors that are thinking about quitting as a result of the COVID, whether they quit the local church or move on. And I'm so grateful you guys, both of your couples are so dedicated to this church, and I've been just praising the Lord that the Lord brought both of you to Bloomer Baptist. Adrianne, do you think you would like to add anything?
I think, no matter how much is going on at church, I think knowing when to say enough's enough, every day has its own troubles, like that can wait till tomorrow. I just need to be with my family right now. Sometimes just helping them see the difference. Sometimes Chuck doesn't always, kind of like you said, one of the kids is trying to talk to him, or one of the kids has been missing him all day and just has been waiting for him to come home. So I think, be open with your spouse, but also remember to communicate your needs too, because if you don't communicate what you need, to your wife, she can't read your mind either. So make sure you're still making time for your family, but mainly your spouse, because if your spouse isn't happy, you know, Eldon, like you were talking about earlier, you get to the point where like, well, if this was just over, it would fix it. You know, you don't want to get to that point where your wife's like, well, if you didn't have this job, it wouldn't be like this. Or,
Right.
you know, if I just wasn't with you anymore, it wouldn't be like this. You don't want to get to that point.
Oh, amen, amen. Well, you girls have been great. And I'll give you, 30% of all the profits that I make on this recording, maybe 40. Anyway, I do appreciate your contribution, and Lord willing, to allow for some discussion in our cluster meetings in the month of December. And if you want to join us sometime, I could send you the invitation to join, and you could say, well, I meant to say that. So thank you very much. Hey, I understand you're going out for supper now, huh?
That's right. You gotta
Oh,
have
yeah. You should charge it to my account, okay?
Sounds great.
All right.
We're getting dessert tonight.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.